to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about serenity. I wanted to talk about how I got to the point where I was able to start understanding serenity. It's one of the promises of the program. We will know serenity. And I was like, I thought I knew what serenity was. I thought I knew, um, the definition of serenity, but I didn't actually feel it until a couple years into the program. And so I just wanted to talk about how I was able to uncover that, what that looked like for me, and how I navigate obstacles to serenity today. So serenity is not something that just happened when I took the drink away. It is something that um, I needed to work for, and I continue to work for on a daily basis. Um, I heard somebody say this morning that it feels like life puts up obstacles faster than we can take them down. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed when things start piling up faster than we can manage them. In my stroke recovery, I have felt very much like that, it was just too much, it was just too much. It wasn't just the stroke, it was the symptoms were overwhelming. And then to need to actually deal with doctors, deal with insurance and all of that stuff. It was just, there were too many obstacles blocking any sort of serenity. I don't even think serenity was a part of my vocabulary in earlier, I didn't know what I was doing. And I still don't know what I'm doing, but I continue to learn different ways to uncover the key to living serenely. And it's not about removing all these obstacles that are put up faster than we can take them down, right? It's not about taking them down. Some of them we can take down, some of them we need to accept. Some of them, we just need to learn how to navigate life with them. It's like um, as we walk through life, we're given a different card every day that we need to figure out whether we're gonna discard it or put it in our pocket and carry it with us. It's like, do I need to accept it and put the card in my pocket? Or is it not going to add value to my life? Can I just let it go? Can I just put it in the discard pile? Um, to live serenely, for sure, it starts with humility. And I had no idea what that word meant. I had to look it up when I first got sober. I knew what being humble meant. I certainly didn't know how to do it. I thought I did, but I really needed to practice the program, practice the steps in order to look at the role I was playing in all of my relationship. I struggled for a long time with wanting to control everything. And through working the steps, listening to other people share in the meetings, I learned that humility is really recognizing my limitations of what is in my control and what isn't. the wisdom to know the difference, the courage to change the things I can. I need to recognize what those are and let go of the need to control everything. People, places, and things, right? That's everything. People, places, and things. Somebody pointed that out like a month ago. I was like, people, places, and things, right? And then somebody said, people, places, and things. That's everything. That means you can't control anything outside of yourself. And I'm just sitting there listening. I'm like, oh, right. That's what that means. People, places, and things. But admitting mistakes when I make them, correcting them, if I can correct them, if I can't, acknowledging that I'm not perfect. I'm a human being and it's okay to be a human being, an imperfect human being. It's when I put humility first, I can live without these emotional hangovers, which was a topic this morning. Live without getting so caught up, consumed, just absolutely consumed with problems around me, problems that I can't control. That is how I have always lived, and it's difficult. It's been difficult over the past year for me to learn how to let life happen, and wait, be patient for things to happen. There is nothing that happens to us that requires more patience than having some sort of medical issue. I've I went through watching my mom wait to find out about her cancer diagnosis. And it's just like it's unfair. It's unfair that people have to be told you could have something that's going to kill you. You don't know how long from now or, and you just have to wait. It's really unfair. And but it's out of our control. It's in the control of several things about the control of busy doctors who have lots of other cancer patients that they're needing to treat and diagnose, but also just the universe. What's going to happen? What's your path? What is planned out for you? If you don't believe in the planned out thing, like the uncertainty of what's ahead. Um, so as I work through the steps of my program, particularly steps 8 and 9, I've learned the importance of admitting and correcting my errors where I feel like I may have hurt another person. And this has been powerful for me. It's not that I ended up here because I had some sort of traumatic childhood, but I did have thoughts throughout my childhood, throughout my younger years, as a teenager that felt traumatic. I never talked about them, but I put myself through my own traumas. I didn't need anything to happen to me because life was crumbling around me, emotionally. That's what it felt like. And for a long time, I just buried that stuff until I was 42. I just kept burying it and piling it inside that dark place. Um, that I was a scared little girl who was confused, you know, and that scared little girl who was confused. Now I don't want to pretend like I wasn't happy-go-lucky a lot of times too. I mean, I had a very fun childhood, and I just have happy memories of my relationships with people. It was when I was alone that was the stuff that left me scared and confused. Confused, I don't know so much, but I guess confused about I lacked information about, I felt like, about what was the purpose of everything. Um, and that's nobody's fault. I just really I felt like isolated in my own mind. I wasn't curious. But today, I know how to comfort that little girl because she's still in there, and I comfort her the way that I comfort my own children. I really do. And it has been so freeing and healthy for me to recognize that I have three kids. I have my son, my daughter, and I have the little girl inside of me that never grew up. And I was able to uncover serenity by starting to look at that stuff. I talked to an addiction therapist, I attended meetings, and I was able to start cleaning out that dark place, looking at and talking about the things that started when I was little, the things that I just thought and felt. And that stuff is what really um, laid the foundation for my dark place. It's how it started. And as I started to talk about that stuff, it was like being at the beach and digging in the sand and clearing away the debris. And underneath it all, you find some beautiful seashell, that's been buried in the sand for years. And as soon as it hits the light, you can see it sparkle and you can see all the different colors. That's what it has been like for me to uncover this beautiful serenity that existed in me, but I just didn't know how to surface it. So, the Serenity Prayer, somebody was talking about the Serenity Prayer this morning, and that's something that as soon as, and for me, it's been true, and I've heard so many people in sobriety say the same thing. As soon as we start hearing that serenity prayer and saying the serenity prayer, it's like something that just becomes your constant companion. And it says in there, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That's the humility. Um, the courage to change the things I can and the wisdom to know the difference. That's all humility for me and acceptance. So, serenity for me, that's where it starts, really. It started with me accepting that I had a big problem. I had a big problem, and that was my alcoholism. That was my disease. And when I entered stroke recovery, when I had a stroke, I laughed a little bit, not because I had a stroke, but because it took me 2 years of going back to work and rejecting this idea that my life changed, that I had another health issue that was about to, or already did, change my entire trajectory for my life. And I wasn't willing to accept that. But I needed to accept that it happened, accept that these symptoms, my headache, my dizziness, my inability to track movement, to deal with, to handle visual movement, was and is something that is not going to change. It's letting go of the things that I cannot change and focusing on what I can do today, the wisdom to know the difference. And a year ago, after 2 years of working, when I finally recognized that um, there's only one thing I can change right now, and it's not my symptoms. It's not the fact that I had a stroke. What I can change is that I need to take care of myself. I need to focus on self-care. And when I accepted that that was the way it was going to have to be, it was going to be really, really painful if I did not accept that. There was no possible way I could continue. My life was unmanageable. There was no way I could continue life the way that I was, ignoring the problem. And when I was able to accept it and let go of my job, because that's a big deal. I had to let go of my career. It still aches in my chest when I think about it. I really loved what I was doing. I loved the direction my life was going in. I felt so fulfilled. I felt smart. I felt accomplished. I felt the things that I always wanted to feel in a job. Um, but when I was able to accept and let it go, I was able to uncover that serenity again. It doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. Of course I do. You guys have been witness to many of them. But I have the tools today to navigate these things without losing my peace. And I believe that now that I know what it feels like, now that I know serenity, it's something that I can always achieve, but it requires work. And I have to make a decision that I'm going to do the work. I need to practice acceptance. And I'll tell you, it seems like every day there's so many freaking things I have to accept. There are definitely more things that I can't control than I can, and I have to have the willingness to admit it. And that's when I will be able to accept, let go of the things I can't. And that's when I'm letting go of that obsession with problems, being just wrapped up in problems all the time, trying to resolve problems in my head constantly all day long, and yet nothing's actually getting done. That is where I lived. And some days, especially when I was working, I was solving problems all day long, problems in relationships, problems in the job itself, problems, um, in the work itself. I was just solving problems all day long. I wasn't taking time for serenity, as much as I am now. I was able to, once I clocked out, quote unquote, I was able to recenter and find that serenity. But I certainly know all too well what it's like to be working in your career and then needing that decompression time. I used to have an hour and a half drive home. Um, and that was like decompression time. That's what my husband and I talk about all the time, how we needed that because there's a point where you've got to let work be where it is and focus on home, like get immersed in home and joy and what life is really all about. And that's hard. It's hard to switch gears like that every day. Um, so I think that it's almost like doing a mini Serenity prayer after work every day. Like, God grant me the serenity to change the things I can't. I can almost like hear myself like throwing my hands up in the air, like, come on, just let me let it go. Let me let everything go and let me just focus on the things I can change, the things I can enjoy, the wisdom to know the difference and all that stuff. Gosh, I know what that feels like. And my heart goes out to all of you who are still in your careers. But there is a sense of fun when I think back. It's fun to me now when I think back of all the chaos because I don't have a lot of chaos now. Um, so anyway, I think serenity, it's there. It's there waiting for us. It's our job to do the work to uncover it every day, dig in the sand and what and like use your little brush and clear out the debris and see if you can find that beautiful serenity that's inside you that's just covered up sometimes by stuff, by yucky stuff. So thank you so much for listening today to the Recovery Daily podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.